President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria has accepted the resignation of the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Geoffrey Uche Nnaji, who had been accused of forging the degree certificate of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and the certificate of completion of service for the one-year mandatory National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, after he allegedly failed an exit course, Virology, repeatedly at the university. Nigeria presidency, in a statement made available a few minutes ago by the presidential spokesperson, Bayo Onanuga, stated that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has accepted the resignation of Geoffrey Uche Nnaji, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, following some allegations against him. President Tinubu appointed Nnaji in August 2023. He resigned today in a letter thanking the president for allowing him to serve Nigeria. Nnaji said he has been a target of blackmail by political opponents. President Tinubu thanked him for his service and wished him well in future endeavors. Earlier, Nigeria state-controlled media, NTA, had reported that the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Geoffrey Nnaji, has dismissed reports questioning his academic qualifications, describing them as politically motivated attempts to tarnish his image. The minister has firmly defended the authenticity of his University of Nigeria, Nsukka degree. Speaking through his spokesperson, Dr. Robert Ngwu, the minister said records from UNN confirm he graduated in July 1985 with a bachelor's degree in microbiology and biochemistry, second-class honors, lower division. He described recent reports denying his graduation as false, malicious, and politically driven, alleging that the controversy began after opposition figures took key positions within the university. Nnaji revealed that the Federal High Court in Abuja has issued protective orders restraining the university from tampering with his records and directing the release of his academic transcript. Reaffirming his focus on national service, the minister said no amount of political blackmail or media trial will distract him from advancing innovation and technology in Nigeria. He urged the University of Nigeria to uphold its motto, to restore the dignity of man, and resist being used for partisan purposes. In a swift reaction on Tuesday, Ogun State government denied sponsoring allegations of certificate forgery against the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Chief Uche Nnaji, urging him to carry his cross and clear his name before Nigerians. The government, in a press statement issued in Enugu on Monday by the Director of Information in the Ministry of Information and Communication, Mr. Chukwuemeka Nibo, said it had no hand whatsoever in the controversies surrounding the minister's academic records. The Enugu state government dissociates itself completely from these allegations. The Honorable Minister must carry his own cross and clear his name before Nigerians, instead of dragging the government into issues that are entirely personal to him, Mr. Nibo declared. The Director of Information recalled that Chief Nnaji had invited journalists to a world press conference scheduled for Monday at 2 p.m. to address the matter, but failed to show up. A large number of Nigerian and international journalists reportedly gathered on the minister's invitation to hear directly from him. But rather than appear before them to answer questions and establish his innocence, the minister absconded, leaving behind proxies who could not withstand the barrage of legitimate questions from journalists. Who can narrate Chief Nnaji's UNN story better than him? Why invite the media, only to outsource the conference? Why send third parties, who lack the answers to critical questions, if he truly has nothing to hide? Mr. Nibo queried. Did he, for his screening, present a purported degree certificate to the Senate showing that he graduated from the prestigious University of Nigeria, Nsukka, UNN, in July 1985? Is it true that he deposed in a federal high court filing in Abuja that he was not issued any degree certificate by UNN, and, if so, how did he come about the degree certificate he presented to the Senate? Is it also true that while he claims to have graduated in July 1985, he applied to the university to retake Virology, course code, MCB 431, in the September 1985 supplementary examination, having failed the course? Is it also true that the university, in a November 8, 1985 letter, informed Uche Nnaji that he again failed Virology, course code, MCB 431, in the supplementary examinations, but could register to retake the course in the June 1986 examinations, provided he paid an examination fee of 4 nairas. 4 naira. Is it true that on January 3, 1986, he again applied to retake the Virology, course code, MCB 431, examination in June 1986, stating in his letter that the receipt for the payment of the 4 naira, receipt fee had been attached? Is it true that while he claims to be in possession of a university degree, he only submitted his secondary school WASC certificate to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for his participation in the 2023 governorship election? Why did Uche Nnaji's proxy state at the Abuja press conference that the minister graduated, while avoiding stating categorically that he was issued a degree certificate? Did he also present a purported NYSC discharge certificate showing that he commenced his national service in April 1985, 3 months before his supposed graduation, and served until July 1986, an unusual duration of 13 months instead of the usual 12 months of national service? Whereas the CEO of the NYSC at the time he claimed to have undergone the national service was Colonel Ede Akpan, January 1984 to December 1987, Uche Nnaji's NYSC discharge certificate was signed by Colonel Anamashon Brimo, who was NYSC CEO from January 1988 to December 1990. Is it true that NYSC certificates issued up till October 1990 had 6-digit numbering devoid of alphabetic characters, but Uche Nnaji's discharge certificate, supposedly issued in 1986, was numbered A231309, which includes the alphabet A? And above all, is it a fact that he deposed to an affidavit in the suit he filed in court that UNN did not issue him any certificate? And if that is the case, Nigerians want to know how he came about the certificate he submitted to the Senate of his own free will in 2023. These are the clarifications Nigerians earnestly yearn for, and Chief Uche Nnaji is urged to brave up to clear his name, if he is truly innocent, rather than trading blames, Nebo stressed. Daily Post newspaper had reported that an Abuja Federal High Court has rejected a bid by the Minister of Innovation, Science, and Technology, Uche Nnaji, to stop the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, UNN, from releasing his academic records. The Minister of Education, National Universities Commission, NUC, UNN, the university's Vice-Chancellor, its Registrar and the Senate of the institution were listed as respondents in the suit. An application for interim injunction filed by the minister's lawyer asked the court to restrain the respondents from acting on a request for release of his academic records. However, Justice Hausa Yilwa turned down the application. The minister had prayed the court for an order granting leave to the applicant to issue the prerogative writ of prohibition on the 3th, 2, 5th and the 7th respondents, the VC, Registrar and Senate of the school, from tampering with or continuing to tamper with the applicant's academic records at UNN. The minister also prayed for an order granting him leave to issue the prerogative writ of mandamus compelling the 3rd, 2, 5th and the 7th respondents to release to him his academic transcript at the varsity. Other reliefs sought include an order granting leave to the applicant to issue the prerogative writ of mandamus compelling the 1st and 2nd respondents to ensure, utilizing their supervisory and disciplinary powers, that the 3rd, 2, 5th and the 7th respondents release to the applicant his academic transcript at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. An interim order of injunction restraining the 3rd, 2, 5th and the 7th respondents from tampering or continuing to tamper with the applicant's academic records at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, pending the determination of the substantive suit. In rejecting the application after listening to the counsel, the judge held, I have therefore perused the 34-paragraph affidavit and the 6-paragraph affidavit of urgency deposed to by the applicant, the grounds upon which this application is made, the exhibits attached thereto and the further affidavit of 6 paragraphs deposed to by Martin Luther Akawi. I have equally considered the written address of counsel. I shall therefore refer to paragraphs 15, 16, 22, 23, 24, 25 and 29 of the affidavit in support of this application, Exhibits 1, 2d and paragraphs 3, 4 and 5 of the further affidavit. I'm of the humble view from the facts deposed in the affidavits, alongside the exhibits attached, that the applicant has sufficient interest in the matter to which this application relates. Thus, this application is meritorious. Consequently, I hereby grant Prayer 1, 2 and 3 only. Prayer 4 is declined. Having been refused, the granting of reliefs 1, 2, 3 shall not serve as injunctive reliefs against any of the parties. UNN had disowned the minister's certificate in a letter addressed to Premium Times, written by the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Simon Orchuanya. In the letter dated October 2, 2025, the university maintained that the minister did not complete his studies. We refer to your letter dated the 29th of September 2025 in respect of the above subject matter. We can confirm that Mr. Geoffrey Uche Nnaji, with matriculation number 1981 30,725, was admitted by the University of Nigeria, Nsukka in 1981. From every available records and information from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, we are unable to confirm that Mr. Geoffrey Uche Nnaji, the current Minister of Science and Technology, graduated from the University of Nigeria in July 1985, as there are no records of his completion of study in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Flowing from above, the University of Nigeria, Nsukka did not and consequently, could not have issued the purported certificate, or at all, in July 1985 to Mr. Geoffrey Uche Nnaji, the current Minister of Science and Technology. This conclusion is also in consonance with an earlier letter dated May 13, 2025, reference number, Run, SR-RV, issued by the university to the Public Complaints Commission in respect of the same subject matter, copy attached, Orchuanya wrote.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Princess Olatorera Majekodunmi-Oniru from Ogun State and a Commonwealth Award winner who is currently pursuing a master degree in law has called on the federal government of Nigeria under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to immediately release the detained Biafra Republic agitation leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, stating in a statement personally signed and made available to media newsroom on Monday, that 10 years of detention without conviction is a grave violation of the fundamental human rights of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, specifically stated verbatim that the continued detention of Mr. Kanu without conviction is not merely a legal anomaly. It is a profound failure of justice and a grave violation of his fundamental human rights. His prolonged detention exposes the widening gap between Nigeria's constitutional expectations and the daily realities of citizens. We must have a justice system that acts with both fairness and decisive strength, not one ensnared in endless procedural limbo and mired in public distrust. According to the princess, across the span of a decade, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has endured one of the longest and most troubling pre-trial detentions in Nigeria's history. Arrested in 2015, accused, pleading not guilty, and never convicted, he remains confined in a blatant defiance of the most fundamental human rights principles. Where is justice when a man stands unconvicted for 10 years, while those charged with upholding justice remain silent? The continued detention of Mr. Kanu without conviction is not merely a legal anomaly. It is a profound failure of justice and a grave violation of his fundamental human rights. His prolonged detention exposes the widening gap between Nigeria's constitutional expectations and the daily realities of citizens. We must have a justice system that acts with both fairness and decisive strength, not one ensnared in endless procedural limbo and mired in public distrust. No charge, however grave, should ever eclipse the principle that every individual is presumed innocent until proven guilty. That principle is the very cornerstone of law and must never be broken, regardless of who holds power. As we call for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's immediate and unconditional freedom, my heart goes out to millions of Nigerians, across tribal lines, generations, and economic classes, from Borno to Kwara to Lagos, crying out for help against armed violence, forced displacement, demolitions, unlawful detentions, untimely deaths, and the persistent scarcity of life's most basic necessities. Beyond politics, every life matters. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's health and spirit are at grave risk, after 10 years behind bars without a proven crime. This declaration is an urgent proclamation. We will count every second, every hour, every day, and continue to galvanize until Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is restored to his rightful freedom. Nigeria now stands at a cross of roads, where history will judge the true motives of those in power. The eyes of the world are watching, and the conscience of the nation is restless. The promise of our democracy depends not only on acts of courage within the halls of power but also on the bold, united actions of citizens. About Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, born in Isiama Afara, Abia State, Nigeria, is a Nigerian-born British citizen and leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. He has long advocated peacefully for the recognition and protection of the political, economic, and cultural rights of citizens of Nigeria's southeast. He has never been convicted of any crime, nor accused of any act of violence. His prolonged detention, despite serious legal questions surrounding his rendition and years of unbroken pre-trial custody, remains a striking violation of due process and a challenge to Nigeria's constitutional and humanitarian commitments, Princess Olatorera Majekodunmi-Oniru stated. Princess Olatorera Majekodunmi-Oniru, as stated in her website, is a transformational executive with over 2 decades of achievements across finance, technology, and global trade. She has driven strategic growth for multinational organizations and entrepreneurially, an incorruptible force for visionary progress. She remains steadfast in her commitment to elevating living standards and ensuring that no citizen is left behind. Olatorera earned her MBA from Emory University with merit scholarships and completed executive leadership programs at the Harvard Kennedy School, Women and Power, Stockholm School of Economics, Financial Modeling and Innovation, and IMD Switzerland, Leadership. She is currently pursuing a master's in law and a doctorate in leadership, ed. Her work has earned numerous accolades, including the World Leadership Congress Award, Commonwealth Award, His Royal Majesty Uni Royal Award and Queen Moremi Leadership Award. She has delivered keynote addresses at global forums such as The Economist Growth Crossings, Women in Leadership Dubai, the Toronto Global Economic Forum, Africacom and Youth Connect.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, may have given a clearer picture on how some companies are apparently aiding and making more money from the ongoing war in his country Ukraine, saying, since the start of the war 4 years ago, some unnamed companies in the United States, US, United Kingdom, UK, China, Germany, Taiwan, Switzerland, Japan, Korea Republic, Netherlands are producing components Russia under President Vladimir Putin is using to produce weapons of mass destruction to kill his people. This, Zelensky in his own words said on Monday that, in the 4th year of the full-scale war, Russia continues to obtain components for producing weapons. During the massive combined strike on Ukraine on the night of October 5th, Russia used 549 weapon systems containing 102,785 foreign-made components, from companies in the United States, China and Taiwan, the United Kingdom, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, the Republic of Korea, and the Netherlands. Nearly 100,688 of foreign-made parts were in the launched attack drones, about 1,500 were in Iskanders, 192 in Kinzhal missiles, and 405 in Calibers. Zelensky stated this in a statement made available through his personal social media profile on Monday, after about 30 people were injured as a result of the Russian attack on a moving passenger train, killing 1 person in Shostka district of Ukraine on Saturday. According to Zelensky, Ukraine is preparing new sanctions against those who help Russia and its war, and we have communicated proposals to curb the supply schemes. Partners already possess the detailed data on each company and each product. They know what to target and how to respond. This week, the G7 sanctions coordinators will meet, and we expect a systemic decision to ensure that the sanctions are truly effective. It is crucial to shut down every scheme that circumvents sanctions, because Russia uses each one to keep killing. The world has the power to stop this. In the fourth year of the full-scale war, Russia continues to obtain components for producing weapons. During the massive combined strike on Ukraine on the night of October 5th, Russia used 549 weapons systems containing 102,785 foreign-made components, from companies in the United States, China and Taiwan, the United Kingdom, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, the Republic of Korea, and the Netherlands. Nearly 100,688 of foreign-made parts were in the launched attack drones, about 1,500 were in Iskanders, 192 in Kinzhal missiles, and 405 in Calibers. In particular, companies in the United States manufacture converters for Kh-101 missiles and Shahd, Iran-type drones, sensors for those UAVs and for Kinzhal missiles, analog-to-digital converters for drones and missiles, and microelectronics for missiles. At least 50 different microelectronic components in each Shahd are produced in China and Taiwan. Microcontrollers for UAVs are made in Switzerland, while microcomputers for drone flight control are produced in the United Kingdom. Optoisolators for cruise missiles come from Japan, switching connectors from Germany. Russia also uses processors manufactured in the Netherlands and servomotors and bearings made in the Republic of Korea. In a separate statement, Zelensky said, "Since the start of the full-scale invasion, the capacity of Ukraine's defense industry has increased by tenfold. Our production potential for drones and missiles alone will reach $35 billion next year." Already over 40% of the weapons in use at the front are either made in Ukraine or produced with Ukraine. And the share of our weapons will only grow. The task for manufacturers, for the government of Ukraine, for all institutions involved is that by the end of the year no less than 50% of the weapons at the front must be our Ukrainian weapons, and this task must be accomplished. We need funding to unleash our full potential, and we are working with every partner who can help make this possible. It is time to start exporting our Ukrainian weapons, those types we have in surplus and can therefore export, to finance the types of weapons that are especially needed for our defense. I have already instructed the government, the office, and the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine to develop and present the key elements of such an export system. The working title of this program is Zbroya, Our Export Product. Agreements are already in place to launch export-import platforms in Europe, the United States, and the Middle East. The task is to have these platforms operational by the end of the year. I said this during the International Defense Industries Forum, which we are opening for the third time in Ukraine today. On the recent attack in Nsukka area of Ukraine, Zelensky said, "Russia ignores or rebuffs literally every opportunity to end the war and guarantee security. Putin wants to wage it, and do it by terrorist, despicable methods. Russia must feel the consequences. Europe, America, the G7, and the G20 have the power to deal with any terrorist." A savage Russian drone strike on the railway station in Nsukka, Sumy region. All emergency services are already on the scene and have begun helping people. All information about the injured is being established. So far, we know of at least 30 victims. Preliminary reports indicate that both Uktsalaisnija staff and passengers were at the site of the strike. The Russians could not have been unaware that they were striking civilians. And this is terror the world must not ignore. Every day Russia takes people's lives. And only strength can make them stop. We've heard resolute statements from Europe and America, and it's high time to turn them all into reality, together with everyone who refuses to accept murder and terror as normal. Lip service is not enough now. Strong action is needed. Andriy Sybiha, Ukraine Minister of Foreign Affairs, also said that the attacks were targeted and deliberate Russian drone strikes on passenger trains in Nsukka, Sumy region. Not one, but two strikes one after another. This is one of the most barbaric Russian tactics, the so-called double tap, with the second attack hitting rescuers and people who are evacuating. Russian terrorists must get strong responses for this deliberate and brutal terror against civilians. Words are not enough. New devastating sanctions. New strengthening for Ukraine. This can be done and must be done to raise the cost of this war for Russia. Putin must feel the danger of continuing this war personally for him and his regime. Jan Lipevsky, Czech Minister of Foreign Affairs, while reacting to the attack in the Nsukka community, said, "While we are voting on Czechia's security, Russia keeps showing the world its true face. The attack on the train running from Nsukka to Kyiv is yet another proof of its barbarity and state terrorism orchestrated by the Kremlin. My thoughts are with all those injured and their loved ones." But Viktor Viktop, a commentator, in his analysis, said that Zelensky claimed that Russia allegedly targeted a passenger train at the Nsukka railway station. There is video of the strike, but upon closer inspection, there was no mention of any passengers. The footage shows the strike hitting a diesel locomotive and a freight train loaded with containers immediately behind it. Video 1. It looks like a typical military train. There are no pure passenger trains. Yes, one car looks similar, but the rest of the train is filled with containers. Photo 1. Most likely, this single passenger train was used to protect the cargo, a common practice when military transport is disguised as civilian. Now let's look at the schedule. No passenger trains departed from Nsukka today. The last train was on October 3rd, and the next one won't be until the 5th. So it's logical to assume that there simply couldn't have been any peaceful passengers there. The free movement of military cargo across Ukraine has ended. Russia has finally started doing what it's supposed to do.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way. Bringing you the news in a more digital way.